views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's so great to be connecting with all of you. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. Thank you all, those of you that tune into Transformation Talk Radio, and many of you now downloading the app from Spreaker, iHeart, and the many other places you do. I don't even know them all, but wherever you're listening from, we want to thank you so much for tuning us in and turning us on. I want to just tell all of y'all that have been calling in over the weekend for the shows, we're going to be doing something really cool moving forward in the fall time. And I know many of you listen to the shows and you actually think they're live. And so we're going to create a special way for you to connect with some of those shows as we move forward. Thank you for tuning us in. It's just incredible to hear from so many of you. And we keep that door open for all of you. You can go to Transformation Talk Radio, as I've said before, the Dr. Pat Show, or you can go to transformationradio.fm and take a look at the channels. We're very, very excited about what's happening there and how it's developing. And thank you for all of your feedback, because it is because of your feedback that, we are going to put up a music channel. So thank you so very much. Once upon a time, Benny, oh, my sidekick, Mr. Benny. Hello, Mr. Benny.
Hey, Pat, how's it going?
Good. Once upon a time, Benny, once upon a time, I heard stories about my family. I heard stories about, this was your family. This is how they grew up. Your grandmother had this, your mother died of this, your father died of this, your aunt died of that, your uncle died of that. And when you go into a doctor's office, I'm just saying, maybe this is not you, but when you go into a doctor's office, what happens is you sit down and they ask you a questionnaire. And they want to know, what's your family history? Here you are, you're walking in, you've just been diagnosed with cancer, and they're stunned to find out why there is no one in your family with cancer. So you have to go through a series of questions about that. You have to go through a series of, this is it, this is what's been happening, this is this is that. Well, what about if you could take control of your genetic destiny with diet and lifestyle? What if that were really, really possible? Well, I'm so thrilled for today's show, the gene therapy plan. And Benny, this is really part of my journey, my healing journey as well. And we're going to hear from, the amazing author of the gene therapy plan, Taking Control of Your Genetic Destiny and Diet and Lifestyle, from Dr. Mitchell Gaynor joining me here today. And I want to just say, when I get a book like this, or when I get aware of a book like this, and Linda does this, these books come across her desk, and we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them in any given month, and twice as many emails with new authors and new work being done. But every once in a while, there'll be a book that I kind of get a hold of, or there'll be information about a book that I'll get a hold of. And I'll say, you know what? I totally relate to that. And how do we relate to the stories we tell? Or how do we explore the world of unlimited possibilities now in this day and age when it comes to health and wellness? when every time you turn on the channel, you're being offered a new pill, a new potion, a new lotion, something that's going to heal you, but not necessarily cure you, something that may give you a release or a reduction in symptoms, but definitely not going to give you the full picture of how to take control of your life. And so, what is it about all of us where we have focused on, as many of us have done with conventional medicine, focus on treating the symptoms with, and as I said, whether it's prescription drugs or otherwise. What is it about us that is so willing to treat the symptoms and ignore the cure? And this is what today's show is about. For me, I get to talk today with Dr. Gaynor about this book, founder, president of Gaynor Wellness, and a clinical assistant professor at medicine. And you know what? This is what I love about being a professor. Those of us that have been down this path, there's a level of preparation we have to do to prepare to talk with sometimes eager, but almost always students that want to absorb what you have. And they're looking for this idea a lot of times of what's new in the world. How can we know this? How can we be better about it? But here's what I love to say. Whether or not you've heard Dr. Gaynor on Good Morning American, the Dr. Oz Show, Martha Stewart, it doesn't matter. What is it that the message that he's bringing to the forefront is so important for us to listen to if we want to thrive at any age in our lives? That's what I love about today's show. I love it. Taking control of your genetic destiny with diet and lifestyle. Think about that before you put that next thing in your mouth, but also listen to the show. Dr. Gaynor, great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be with you, Pat.
I wanted to start at a kind of awkward place for me, and that is in 2004, and listeners heard me say this, 2004, I was given a workshop one day, how to live your best dream. And the radio show had just been six months, in 2004. So this is about our 13th year. And in the middle of the workshop, my ankle became the size of a grapefruit. And I went on this healing journey, informational journey, exploring, traditional medicine versus, natural medicine and so forth. And I changed the whole direction of the show because of what I discovered. How did you discover that there just might be another way to wellness?
Well, I was really blessed to have a lot of opportunity in my life. So I did my training at Cornell Medical Center and internship, residency. Then I was chief medical resident. Then I did fellowships in both hematology, which is study of blood, and medical oncology, which is the treatment of cancer. And as part of that, I was at Rockefeller University for 2 years, right when the field of what's known as epigenetics was just developing. And I was studying the regulation of tumor suppressor and tumor promoter genes that could turn on or turn off cancer, genes which could upregulate or downregulate the immune system, and seeing how these could literally be affected for good or for harm by different environmental toxins, as well as by food and the mix of food that we put in our body. And I was literally flabbergasted that with the best medical training available in the Western world, nobody had ever talked about the power of food and micronutrients to literally affect the most fundamental part of our health, which is our DNA and our gene expression. And the other thing I was fascinated to learn, and I think what's groundbreaking about this book, is that we used to think that if we had a strong family history of cancer or heart disease or diabetes or a lot of people who are overweight or who age prematurely, that was just going to be our genetic destiny. We thought it was just like our eye color and our hair color. It was fixed. But what we know now is that the vast majority of our genes, especially when it comes to your health, are dynamic. They can change throughout your lifetime for good or for harm, depending on the foods you're putting in your body, and that field is known as epigenetics or ecogenetics.
You know, this is really kind of, you know, a conversation that is so needing to hit mainstream America. At least I say mainstream America, you know, because there are certain pockets across the globe that already get this conversation, and by their natural evolution of things. You know, if my grandma was here today, clearly the way that you would look at eating in her kitchen is very different than the way we eat today. You know, you wouldn't even get the pasta out of a box. You see what I'm saying? The pasta would not come out of a box.
No.
In the house. But today, if it's not out of a box, it's as if the art of cooking is literally on the verge of becoming a lost art. Is it all food, or is it a combination of what we do with food, or just, as my friend would say, just them bad habits?
I'm glad you brought up your grandmother because, you know, one of the things that is important for everybody to realize is that we are no longer living on the same planet that our grandparents grew up on. So it was okay back then to have 2 or 3 servings of fruits and vegetables a few times a week, and probably that was adequate. But now we're growing up in this fast food, processed food culture. We're being inundated from the time we're very young with high fructose corn syrup, with pro-inflammatory things like heat-damaged oils that give things a longer shelf life, with a lot of refined sugar, refined flour that wreaks havoc on our gut and the bacteria that live in our gut. 90% of the genes in your body are bacteria that live in your gut, and you have the wrong bacteria by drinking too much soda, which is loaded with phosphoric acid, which wipes out a lot of those good bacteria. Too much white sugar, processed grains, all of those kinds of things make it very difficult to digest food. They create an inflammatory state in the body, and at the same time, they're turning on genes that are going to make you insensitive to insulin and other hunger hormones like leptin, and that's going to make you predisposed to being overweight and developing diabetes. That's why 100 million Americans today have either prediabetes or diabetes. 1 in 3 Americans are going to hear the words, "you have cancer." Over the next 5 years, that's expected to go to 1 in 2 Americans. So, you know, we've really, in essence, compared with when our grandparents were alive, we've made a big mess of things, but there are a lot of steps people can take to protect themselves.
I love that, because this is what today's show is about. This is what, you know, the book that you wrote is about, The Gene Therapy Plant, Taking Control of Your Genetic Destiny with Diet and Lifestyle. Dr. Mitchell Gaynor joining me here today. When we come back, we're going to take a look at, you know, what is this thing where we can target a disease? How do we target a disease with certain gene therapy? You know, this is really interesting. I don't know if all of you out there have had this scenario of ever having to take care of one of your loved ones, your moms, your dad, your grandparents, you know, when they are faced in front of them with the daily regimen of at least 12 to 15 different pills that they have to take certain times of the day, and there is no one administrating anything about any interaction with them. How do we talk with our citizens and our loved ones and others about another way? We're going to talk about that when we come back. How do we target the diseases? And then how do we implement this plan? Because without action, it's just small talk. We'll be right back.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
A morning filled with dynamic, inspirational music, spirituality, and uplifting messages by TJ Woodward. Come and connect with community conversations and awaken your senses. Awakened Living Sundays with TJ Woodward. Join TJ every Sunday in the San Francisco Bay Area Chapel at Fort Mason and live streaming online 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time. To learn more and access the live stream, visit www.awakenedlivingsf.org.
If you're one of the millions of Americans suffering from anxiety, you probably know how powerless and out of control this emotion can make you feel. This is why it is so important to remember that anxiety is created by your mind, which means that you can learn to use your mind to uncreate it. Hello, my name is Dr. Friedemann Schaub. My award-winning book, The Fear and Anxiety Solution, provides you with a step-by-step breakthrough process to understand and resolve the root causes of your anxiety and build a solid foundation of confidence and inner peace. If you're ready to take your power back, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com. That's thefearandanxietysolution.com, or call 866-903-6463. That's 866-903-MIND.
The doctor is in. Tune in to the hit show, The Psychic Love Doctor, with host Deborah Lee. Deborah's life-affirming, highly perceptive reading method has taught Deborah how to zero in on specific problems with relationships, career pursuits, and current roadblocks to success and happiness. This inspiring show will help you never feel helpless in life or love ever again. Join Deborah Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific Time right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. For those of you out there, I know that you're tuning into the show, and there are definitely some things we're going to talk about today. The gene therapy plan, taking control of your genetic destiny and with diet and lifestyle. And I'm so glad Dr. Mitchell Gaynor joining me here today. You just heard a little bit from him. There's so many things in the book. You know, Dr. Gaynor, so many things in the book. It was really hard for me to figure out which direction to go in. And by the way, oh my goodness, the absolute aloe dressing included in the book is amazing. And so the book doesn't just have a bunch of things for us to read and know about, but there is an implementation plan. And that's what I love about the book. And it's not like the last chapter in the book for those of you out there. It is part 2. It is the whole second half of the book. Dr. Gaynor, thank you for joining me here today. I want to kick this off. I know that we could talk about a lot of things, but I do want to talk about obesity, and I want to kick it off because I've shared the story of my sister on air with many of our listeners. The other reason I want to kick it off is because I think it not only relates to what you talk about in the card you include, but it talks about the implementation. And where are we? What is the state of affairs with obesity? And and this is going to be a double question. How does this regimen of drugs that people have really confuse the issues in our body to even get our weight under control? That's a 2-part question. Obesity in general, and then the interaction with some of the medications.
Well, it's a great question, and one of the issues that really plagues people, as I hear it all the time, Dr. Gaynor, I just feel hungry all the time. It doesn't matter what I eat, how I change my diet, I'm still feeling hungry all the time. Now, what's the reason for that. And one of the reasons is people, there are three major hormones that are all controlled by different genes that regulate hunger. So the most common one we know about is insulin. And so a lot of people develop insulin insensitivity because of all the inflammation caused by environmental toxins, the wrong bacteria in your gut, too much white flour, too much white sugar, too many heat-damaged oils. And this causes a release of inflammatory chemicals in your gut and by fat cells, and they bind up all the insulin receptors. So your body makes enough insulin, but the insulin can't really drive the sugar into the cells and burn it properly. So you get these fluctuations in your blood sugar, and when they drop, you feel hungry. The other one is called leptin. Leptin is made by fat cells. It's known as the hunger hormone. That makes you feel full. And you get leptin insensitivity from the same reason, from too much inflammation in the body. So you want to be able to put in a lot of foods that are anti-inflammatory. And the third one is GLP-1, or glucagon-like peptide 1, that's found in your small intestine and in the brain. And when levels of this drop, you feel hungry for the worst types of food, very high saturated fat foods, foods with a lot of salt, refined sugar. Also, this has a lot to do with inflammation. And, these are all related to the genes. So the reasons most people have become frustrated, they've tried low-carb diets. They've tried high-protein diets. They've, tried juice fasts, all different things, and eventually they end up gaining the weight back. And so the reason is this is the first book that's been written for gene expression. Mm-hmm. And what that means is so I start the book by talking about the rule of thirds. People should receive a third of their calories every day from healthy protein, like lean meat, eggs or egg whites, fish. And that protein should be spread over the course of the day. So if your goal is to get 90 grams of protein, shoot for 30 in the morning, 30 in the afternoon, 30 in the evening. That will do two things. It'll keep you full longer. You'll just feel full. And two, significantly more muscle than getting it all, say, at one meal. A third should be healthy carbs, including whole grains or sprouted whole grains, fruit, and Swiss cheese. And a third should be healthy fats with about a 3-to-1 mix of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. Healthy omega-6s are like olive oil, coconut oil, omega-3s or fish oils, as well as chia seeds and flax seeds.
Well, we've come a long way with the fat conversation, if I might say, because if you and I were doing this show, and I just want to say, like even 10 years ago, right? And we started to talk about people eating fats, and do I dare even say the word coconut, right? And remember, we went through this it had to be a good 10, 15-year period, if not longer, with the no-fat way of eating. I want to ask you, how has that affected us? How has that affected us as human beings? I mean, we went through that thing, and it was mostly women, We went through the whole no-fat thing.
Well, unfortunately, it was just a big misconception about what is creating heart disease and stroke. And we used to think that it was a high cholesterol. That was it. Very simple. So all you needed to do is take a drug, lower your cholesterol, and that was it. Well, we now know that the major cause of heart disease and stroke and plaque that forms in your carotids and your coronary arteries that supply blood to your heart is inflammation, which is caused by too much white sugar and white flour. This damages the lining of the blood vessel walls and it also damages the worst type of cholesterol. It oxidizes it, called LDL, and makes it more sticky. So that is the major reason we have so much heart disease and stroke in this country, is not the saturated fat, but rather too much white sugar and white flour. And in fact, the Department of Health and Human Services updates their nutrition guidelines every 5 years. They recently updated them about 2 months ago. And one of the biggest changes in that is they realized that they had overemphasized the dangers of saturated fat and estimated the dangers of white sugar and white flour. So that was a big, important change.
Huge change. When we come back, we're going to take a walk, take a journey through the walls of heart disease, through the cells of cancer, and through the absolute level of inflammation that diabetes and autoimmune disease bring us. We're going to take a short break. It is so great to have Dr. Gaynor joining us here today. 1-800-930-2819. For those of you out there that have a question and you want to give us a shout at the show. And if you don't want to come on air and you have a question, go ahead and let Mr. Benny know what that is. 1-800-930-2819. When we come back, is this science? Is this lifestyle? Is this a little bit of this, a little bit of that? Or is it a way to literally retrain ourselves with some healthy habits that will increase our days of living, and when we do that, increase them with vitality? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I remember when we broke up the first time, saying this is it, I've had enough, 'cause like we hadn't seen each other in a month. When you said you needed space, what? Then you come around again and say, baby, I miss you and I swear I'm gonna change.
We spend nearly a third of our life on the astral plane. Why not leverage it? Go deeper and learn more with Lynn Brown and Wendy R. Wolf. Join us at the Buddha Playhouse and Cafe in Bellevue, August 11th from 6 to 7 p.m. for basic tools and 7 to 9 p.m. for astral body basics. For more information, email lynn@letteruintuit.com or visit the website at letteruintuit.com.
Doctor loves quickies.
Mary's about ready to give love the shove, 'cause no matter what she tries, guys don't know that she's alive. To turn guys on, she needs to turn on those green lights, nonverbal cues that say, over here. Most guys won't approach unless they're cleared for landing. So ladies, to kickstart your love life, turn on those green lights and flash your pearly whites. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf of AskDrLove.com.
Have you been seeing numbers like 111 and 222 everywhere you go? Do you feel that the universe may be trying to get your attention, perhaps offering a message of some sort? As it turns out, numerical patterns and certain types of geometry form the very fabric of our reality, from cells under a microscope to the astronomy of our night sky. At Stellar Reflections, we offer special sessions which tap into these patterns, designed specifically to support you on your journey. The 111 and 222 activations are sessions activating new patterns in your energy field, which in turn can help you create new patterns in your life. After just one session with a practitioner, either in person or via distance, clients report gaining greater clarity, becoming more intuitive, and honoring their inner truth as they move forward in their lives. Curious about what these transformational sessions might do for you? Call 425-999-9836 or visit StellarReflections.com. That's StellarReflections.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It is so great to have all of you join us here today. I'm thrilled. I'm so thrilled to have Dr. Gaynor here on the show And, the Gene Therapy Plan is the book, Taking Control of Your Genetic Destiny with Diet and Lifestyle. And as I said before, there's so much, so much in this book. Everything from the top 10 foods to eat before and after you work out to the top 5 supplements for heart disease and much more. Dr. Gainer, before we jump ahead, please tell folks, first of all, how they can get a copy of your book. And then secondly, how about the website? What's the best place for people to find out more about you?
Well, the website is GeneChanger, GENE, changer.com. And people can get the book there, or you can get it on any large bookseller, Barnes & Noble or Amazon. And basically, the website has all the updated information about epigenetics and how you can incorporate this kind of information. There's a free newsletter people can sign up for. There are free meal plans, free recipes that I continually update in addition to what's in the book.
Yeah. Boy, I have a couple of good ones for you, too. If you ever need some input, we have the best listeners here on the planet. And, boy, I'll tell you, they've brought a whole new meaning, to what we're talking about today. I wanted to get to the conversation about targeting specific diseases. But before I even jump to that, I want to ask you this question. I mean, I'm sitting here just loving you, loving the book. But I must say that writing a book like this, I'm not surprised really if in some circles people are like, "Whoa, what is he saying here?" Right? This is like not possible. This could be like science fiction or like The Outer Limits. Did you have that kind of feedback from the book? Because the idea of lifestyle, doing anything with genes is really quite progressive, don't you think?
It is, but it's backed up by so much science, and this is science that I've really been involved in since its inception. And so it's really the way medicine is going now. We're really moving away from just waiting for a symptom to develop and then putting a Band-Aid over the symptom to really look at gene expression that has to do with inflammatory genes, with genes that are controlling mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the energy centers inside your cells. So, for instance, we know that brain cell death occurs when you don't get enough nutrients that are supporting your mitochondria. Nutrients like carnosine, which is found in beets and eggs, but can also be taken in supplement form. Nutrients like PQQ or pyrrolquinolone, which is involved in something called mitochondrial biogenesis. That's the formation of new mitochondria within the brain. A lot of people are under the mistaken impression that you stop growing brain cells once you're about 15 years old. You can grow new brain cells well into your 90s if you're receiving the right nutrients. And I don't think there's any reason people should settle for living less long than that. But if you're going to live into your 80s and 90s, you have every right to be vibrant and healthy. You don't have to be, stuck with forgetfulness where you can't remember people's names or where you put your keys. You don't have to have joints that don't work and sagging skin. It's really a lot about what you're putting in your body for good or for harm that's controlling the very basis of your health, which is gene expression. And anything short of that is really like trying to fix a leaky roof by drilling a deeper and deeper hole in your floor. You're never going to get to the source of the problem that way.
Wow. And this is something that we can talk about by real live examples. I mean, clearly there are stories in the book that of people you've worked with. I would love to talk about this idea of targeting disease by you sharing some of the stories, because people, I think all of us don't want to go what I went through in 2004 and kind of have to learn it, the hard way. That's why I do the show that I do. The whole nature of the show changed because of my experience. I'd never gone to a natural doctor before. I'd never heard any of this, but it was going to be literally one of the only ways that I was going to get better and not be sitting in a wheelchair today. So I would love for you to talk about some of these diseases that are out there and what you've discovered in literally helping people take control of their destiny.
Well, I talk at the beginning of the book about a number of people, and one woman I talk about is Marissa Harris, who had stage 4 pancreatic cancer about 19 years ago. She was given 3 to 4 months to live, and I did give her chemotherapy because I do integrative care, not alternative. But in addition, a lot of nutrients, a lot of supplements. She really got very into meditation, stress reduction, and it's basically a whole concept of where we're trying to induce dormancy of a variety of different illnesses, and that's really possible. Now, what I mean by dormancy is everybody, by the time they're an adult, is pretty much walking around with some dormant cancer cells in their body. So if you've never had cancer, the goal is to keep those cells dormant for the rest of your life. If you have had active cancer, you want to make those cells dormant and keep them that way. So there's something called apoptosis, or normal cell death. That's the difference between a normal cell and a cancer cell. A cancer cell just keeps dividing and dividing. A normal cell will die when it gets old. And so there's all these nutrients you can put in your body to help induce apoptosis. One are nutrients called anthocyanidins found in grapeseed extract. Another is found in the bark of magnolia tree. There are 2 nutrients there. One's called honochiol. The other is called manganol. Black seeds and black cumin seed oil are loaded with a nutrient called thymoquinone, which is very profoundly pro-apoptotic. It helps induce cancer cell death. And even something like garlic, very, very important nutrient for keeping cancer cells dormant. So people have a lot of things probably pretty handy in their kitchen or their pantry or their refrigerator that they wouldn't realize how powerful they are.
I love this. And you know what I love about this is you really spell this out. And yeah, I wanted to just say that, my journey too was the way you described it. It wasn't, the language we used to use is alternative. The language we're using today is integrative. And there are many, many ways to look at what's going on in the body. What do you think, if I might ask, what do you think is one of the most important things a person that is in the midst of, let's just call it something that's going on with their body, what would you say to them perhaps is on your top 3 things to either do or look at?
Well, I think it's absolutely key to look at your 25-hydroxy vitamin D level. That's a measurement of how much D3 you're getting. A lot of people don't absorb D3 well and have very low levels. That's important in every body system, in your tumor suppressor genes, in your ability to metabolize insulin, in your ability to think normally, and brain cell health, osteoporosis, as we know. And so many people I see are profoundly deficient in this. Unless you measure the 25-hydroxy vitamin D, you can't really know. And some people, like I said, are poor absorbers and need more than other people. It's also very important for people to know how much inflammation that they have going on in their body. So you can measure things like a C-reactive protein. You can measure sedimentation rate. If you have a lot of inflammation, you want to put foods in your body like turmeric. Turmeric is what gives curry its yellow color. Profound anti-inflammatory. Ginger, loaded with anti-inflammatory nutrients. Yucca, which comes from the root and the stalk of a cactus, loaded with anti-inflammatory nutrients. And boswellia, which is the edible form of frankincense, loaded with anti-inflammatory things. You also want to make sure you don't have heavy metal toxicity for things like arsenic or mercury, and you want to put things in your body that are going to boost your detoxification enzymes on a genetic level, and those would be like the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage. On a genetic level, they increase the body's production of detoxifying enzymes.
I love this. This is really so amazing. We're going to skip the next break because there's just so much to talk about, You know, I talked about my grandma earlier on the show. And, you know, as a kid, let's laugh. Let's have a chuckle here. I'm from the Bronx, right? Let's have a chuckle. Growing up in an Italian family, one of the things you can count on almost like 99% of the time, that on a daily basis, garlic is pretty much going to come out of your pores, and your grandma thinks olive oil is a skin lotion.
Both are good.
I know. But my gosh, you know, we've come so far away from some of the things that are so natural. And, you know, you give us this great list and you talk about olive oil. Can you just talk for a little bit about some of the gene therapy plan things that you have that are really right in front of us? And I know you heard this because I've heard it. People say, I can't do it, Pat. You know, it's expensive. It's this. Organics are this is it. But you've really put something together that says, wait a minute, there pretty much is something here for everybody. This is how you get to it. Can you talk to that issue?
Well, you're probably going to need to take a vitamin D3 supplement because it's unlikely that with a regular Western diet you're getting enough D3. You shouldn't guess. You should know your level. But if you eat the perfect diet for D3, salmon, cottage cheese, yogurt, the most you can get is about 350 units. The least anybody needs is about 1,000 units. If you live in the Northeast, you probably are going to need closer to 5,000 units. So that's one thing that everybody should look at and make sure they keep within a normal level, you know, in the 50 to 70 range. The other thing is you want to make sure you're not cooking with oils that are being damaged by heat, because all that's doing is promoting free radical and pro-inflammatory chemical formation. So the safest oils to cook with are organic coconut oil. That has a very high smoke point, not damaged by heat, and it's loaded with lauric acid, which is very good for your immune system. Second best would be grapeseed oil, preferably the cold pressed, not the chemically extracted. And the third best would just be organic butter or ghee. Now, olive oil is very, very important. It should be extra virgin, but you inactivate a lot of the good nutrients in olive oil when you cook with it. So olive oil is loaded with a nutrient called squalene. It's found in two places in nature, in olives and in sharks. It's an omega-2 fatty acid that's very, very powerfully anti-cancer. Olive oil is also anti-inflammatory and helps prevent diabetes and heart disease. So critical thing to have in your diet, but best poured on something raw or drizzled on something after it's already been cooked. Then it's important to take the skin off chicken, fish, or turkey before you eat them, because a lot of the environmental toxins go into the skin. And I tell people tree nuts are very good. Walnuts, probably the best nut, preferably raw. Great snack. And then if you can follow the rule of thirds with, you know, a third of your diet coming from healthy protein, a third from healthy carbs, a third from healthy fats, you really can start to re-regulate your body, and you start feeling so much better.
I don't usually ask a question like this, so it's a little counter for, you know, they don't call me the queen of positivity for nothing, but I got to ask this question. I got to. What's on your don't list? Do you have a don't list? And I know you do, but I'm just so curious. If people were going to, let's say, stop doing something, right? If they say, you know what, this is great. I'm going to get the book. I'm going to look at it. If you were to say there's 1, 2, or 3 things that folks might be doing today, if they could just put it down, whatever it is, what might those things be?
I would say the number one thing is you really want to cut out processed sugar and processed flour, the white sugar, the white flour, especially things like soda, even diet soda, because an average can of soda is going to have like 10 teaspoons of sugar in it, white sugar. It's going to cause all these fluctuations in your insulin. If you're getting it diet even, you're getting all that phosphoric acid, which isn't good for the good bacteria in your gut. You want to make sure you give up a sedentary lifestyle. If you want to start exercise, it has to be a combination of both aerobic and weight-bearing. It's not enough to get on a treadmill 3 times a week and think that's adequate exercise. Building muscle and keeping it toned is absolutely critical. You don't have to become muscle-bound, but you have to do weight-bearing exercise at least 20 minutes 3 times a week in addition to aerobic exercise. They're both critically important because when you build muscle, muscle is not releasing inflammatory chemicals into your body like fat cells do, and muscle is burning 5 times as many calories per weight as fat does. So that's a key thing also. And the other thing that's absolutely critical is you want to get a lot of very high-heated foods out of your diet because the more you heat anything, oils, protein, carbs, that forms something called AGEs, or advanced glycation end products. They bind to your skin. They cause wrinkles. They cause premature aging. So it's best for like vegetables to steam them or juice them rather than to broil them. You don't want things that are charred. And a lot of crunchy things that are in packages, they're heated to very, very high heats in order to prolong their shelf life. I'd stay away from those as well.
I tell you, we should have scheduled 2 hours to talk with you because there's just so much that our folks should know. I think the takeaway for me is how we started the show. And boy, I have to tell you, thank you so much for writing an incredible book. It really is. I mean, I've gone through it once and I'm at my second time going through it for so many reasons. But I'll tell you what's happening to me as I'm going through it now the second time. And please tell me if I'm on the wrong track with this, okay, so I don't get too far. What I've discovered in reading your book is that there are some things that, even as much as I've learned over these past 13 years doing this, there's some things that I've taken off my list that are now included back in. And I wanted to ask you about a couple of them. What do you think are the most misunderstood lifestyle, if we could, and diet changes that people have? I know you clearly share about muscle, and I love that you did that. And I just want to say for people out there that are maybe not well and in pain, these elastic bands that you could do in your bed, even a little bit of that tension, right, Dr. Gainer? A little bit can go a long way. But what do you think are the misconceptions here?
Absolutely. Well, that's an important way of just staying toned, the bands. And a lot of the misconceptions people have is that you have to be perfect. And you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to be under the assumption that, well, I've smoked for 30 years already, I've been overweight for most of my life already, so it's too late for me. The fact of the matter is it's never too late because you can always influence gene expression positively regardless of how many years you've influenced it negatively. And you start seeing the results virtually immediately when you start to make these kind of changes. And the other misconception is it has to be a tasteless diet. You can see from my recipes and meal plans, it's clearly not. And people start feeling so much better. They're not hungry all the time, and you just don't have the need to keep going after the wrong types of foods. When you are eating the right types of foods, you stop being hungry for the wrong types.
Mm. You know, and you're so right about that. Of course, for somebody like me, I had moved into, an integrated approach to wellness because I was down and out in Seattle with the mystery disease nobody could figure out. And it was exactly like you said. We have some of the best natural doctors, Dr. Nushin Darvish, along with, conventional medicine or whatever you want to call it. But it's the right mix. I would like to go back to something you shared. I know we only have a couple of minutes left. There is a resistance in a lot of the medical profession, and you're not it, especially in cancer and chemotherapy, where people are really being guided. No, don't go over there and do integrated because we need to just focus on this chemo drug or this radiation. And yet what I've come to know is that if we do integrate it with somebody that knows how to do that, somebody that's going to say, don't eat sugar, whatever that is, that those drugs will work better. Can you please talk to that specifically? Because it's not just cancer, it's some of the other diseases. And I just would love to hear you talk about the importance of integrated and how we can move beyond the myth that you cannot do them together.
Well, it is clearly a fact that if you don't have a strong immune system, even, in cancer therapy, the biggest advances are coming from drugs that bolster your own body's ability to kill cancer itself. Because cancer cells will release chemicals. One's called PD-1, another's called PD-L1, and they inactivate your natural killer cells. Those are the immune cells that are responsible for killing cancer, active cancer cells. And so the new drug therapies are actually designed to block that blocking substance. And clearly we know, for instance, vitamin D. Your immune system can't function without adequate vitamin D. We know, for instance, women who have the lowest D3 levels when they're diagnosed with breast cancer have a 94% greater chance of dying with breast cancer. We know women who take aspirin, just low-dose aspirin, when they're diagnosed with breast cancer, markedly cut down the risk of developing metastatic disease. So, all these nutrients are critically important to have a properly functioning immune system, which is key to getting over any illness. To have a healthy gut, absolutely key to getting over any illness. All these things can work together. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can still keep your body healthy, nourish it back to health, and take medicines when they're needed.
Wow, I love this. Thank you so much for today's show. Please, one more time, let us know how we can get a copy of the book. I just love this book. I'm going to have you back. If you don't mind coming back, I would love to have you back.
Oh, anytime.
Because there's so many things that we can talk about. So we'll call this part one. I would like to ask you one last question for today. What is your personal message you'd like to leave us with? And please, again, give us the website. Thank you.
It's never too late to change your destiny, regardless of your family history, regardless of the bad habits that you've had. You can lower your risk of heart disease, cancer, being overweight, all of those types of things. And there's a lot of information on my website, GeneChanger, G-E-N-E, changer.com. Free newsletter, free meal plans, recipes, and all the latest science.
What a great, great book for folks out there. And I'll tell you, the recipes rock. We're going to take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back.